Sometimes fearfulness is shamed out of you. Let me tell you about the summer of 1971. This was the summer of my big American road adventure with my college buddies, a van road trip all the way to California. It was going to be my great courageous adventure. I looked at it as a summer of drugs, sex, rock and roll, and tourist attractions. And the rock and roll was given to us by Phil, my college roommate, who, it was his van, a Dodge van, and he bought an 8-track player with a whole bunch of new 8-track tapes, our favorite groups, the band, the Byrds, the Grateful Dead. And he also brought along his 2 cats. The entire 2-month trip, no cages, just the 2 cats in the back with a litter box and water and food. It was his van and it was his rules, and we had the cats. The cats actually always got lost in places. The first night we were in Cincinnati at a friend's house, and we got up the next morning ready to leave, and we couldn't find the cats anywhere. We had to look for them for 40 minutes, found them in the backyard. We had a celebratory bunch of tokes on this enormous reefer. Got stoned out of our gourds, hit the van, went on the highway. We went on Route 70 instead of 74, which was okay because it was going southwest straight to St. Louis, except then we passed a sign that said, "Welcome to Kentucky." And we all looked around and said, "Holy mackerel, we're in the fucking South. We're in the South." First time any of us had been in the South, and Easy Rider had just been released 2 years before. So we were just paranoid out of our minds. I mean, it had become drugs, cats, rock and roll, and paranoia. And so we were looking carefully for any truck that happened to have a gun rack. We were looking for local police. We were slowing way down. We got to St. Louis okay. St. Louis was fine, except we did lose the cats in a gas station right in the middle of St. Louis for 45 minutes. Actually, the most interesting place we lost the cats was the Grand Canyon. We just had put up our tent in the top of the Grand Canyon at the state park, and something had spooked the cats, maybe a wild animal, and they both shot up this tree, except it was an enormous tree, and they were so far up we couldn't even see them. And we were calling their names, and all our neighbors from the other campsites would come around and call their names and give us advice about how to get them down. And then this guy came out of the woods, and he was wearing a shiny, tight polyester suit, dark, a skinny tie, a white shirt, and Italian loafers that looked like they cost $200 in the campsite. And he came up to me and said, "I understand you're having trouble with your cats." And I said, "Yes, they're up the tree, sir." And he said, "I got a fantastic idea. Look at this." And he took out this enormous gun. It was like a .45. He said, "All I gotta do is one shot. It'll be really loud, I promise you. And the cats will come right down in a flash." I said, well, sir, I think we'll handle it another way. I mean, that's very nice of you, but no thanks." And he said, "What? What the fuck? That was a perfect plan, man. This is a loud gun. They'd come down in a flash." And I said, well, thank you very much. I think we'll do it some other manner. And he seemed extremely angry, but he hustled off. The cats came down in about an hour when they got hungry. But I became obsessed with this guy. I believed he was a mass murderer. Not just a mafia guy, a mass murderer. And I told my friends, why don't we not sleep in the tent, but about 100 feet away? And then when he comes to kill us tonight, he won't be able to find us. It'll be great. And they said, "You're an idiot, Gewertz. I mean, he's not going to kill us. We're going to sleep in the tent." And I said, "Okay, but I believe it's a death trap. So I'm going off." And I did. I went off 150 feet, and I slept in my sleeping bag with my pillow all alone, stars above my head. It was like 38 degrees that night. I slept all night, woke up in the morning to what sounded like a gunshot. I opened my eyes, and I wasn't in the wilderness. I wasn't in the woods. I was in the next campsite. And it was a camper trailer campsite with an enormous camper trailer, 2 parents, 4 kids, they had electricity, and the kids were watching television outside of the trailer, and that was the gunshot. It was an old Western movie. And I was so ashamed. I was so chagrined. I kind of like didn't say anything to them. They were staring at me. I just kind of took my sleeping bag and my pillow underneath my left arm and trudged back to the tent. And I was so ashamed that the rest of the trip, which really did have their share of adventures, including meeting a brown bear, a very close encounter, and meeting a rattlesnake, an even closer encounter, 3 feet from me on Route 1, I wasn't as scared as I might have been. I wasn't as frightened because the mass murderer of Grand Canyon really frightened the fright out of me.